वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचारूणमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Okay, great. We will start with shlok number. So we are doing chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita, and we will do just the 3 shloks that we started, 4 shloks. So we will recite 4 shloks. We will start from 53. We will do we will start from 54, sorry. 54, 55 today, right now, and then 56 and 57 in the chapter. So right now we will only recite 2 shloks. So we will start from 54. Okay guys, so because this is a new, there are 4 parts in chapter 2, so this is the 4th part starting from verses number 54. So we will start the 4th part of it. Okay, you guys are ready?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, wonderful. Anybody wants the page number or anything? It's chapter 2, shlok 54. Okay. Arjunuvacha sthitapragnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Shri Bhagwan uvacha prahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan Atmanyevatmana tushta srita prajnastadochate. Okay, so we are in chapter 2, and as we, just to have a revision a little bit, we started from, we had 4 subparts of chapter 2. The first one, it starts with, what was this first one? Arjun surrendering himself as Krishna's bhakt or follower, or surrendering himself to Krishna to get the knowledge from him. So that was the first part, surrendering of Arjuna. Second part was, anybody from there? You remember?
Spiritual practice.
No, second part. What was the second part?
I can't remember if this is the second or third, but was it what are we?
Yes, that's the second part. So first is Arjun surrendering himself to Lord, to his God, to his teacher, that show me the way. Second was, what are we? So the knowledge that Krishna Bhagavan gave him, like the whole doctrine of Gita, he told what are we, actually what are we? So we are that consciousness. So that was the second part. The third part was, spiritual practice. How in everyday life we can bring spirituality, right? whatever action we do, how can we bring spirituality? It's not that we have to go and sit on Himalayas and be monks to get spirituality, right? So how can we bring in our everyday life? And you know what? Spirituality in every religion is the source of ending up our suffering, right? Any religion you go, if you go Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, the Jewism, every religion, what they promise us that they're gonna take our suffering, end to the suffering, and they will give us happiness and satisfaction, right? So that's what, it's the third part was more about how can we bring everyday spirituality in everyday practice. So that was karma yoga, right? And now last thing is the result of that, right? So last thing is what is the difference between the regular person and the person who does all these, who have knowledge that Krishna Bhagavan gave, and what are we? And then he's using the karma yoga, right? So if the person use both knowledge and karma yoga, what is the result? So that's what the fourth part is, where Arjun asked, hey, what are the characteristics of this guy who knows the knowledge, who have the knowledge, and who is doing karma yoga too? Then what is the result? What can I see? What difference it's going to make? So that was the fourth thing. So we are on the fourth side of it, which is what are the characteristics of this perfect person? Perfect person means the enlightened person, right? Here they are using the word sthita prajna, right? So Arjun asked in Shlok 54, we said that Arjun asked, what is the characteristic of this sthita prajna person? So sthita prajna, what was the definition of sthita prajna? Anybody remember from last time? Anybody remember sthita prajna?
Spiritual balance.
I don't know if you understand. Sthita prajna, where I put perfect person. So the question Arjun asked 4 questions in Shlok number 54, right? The first question was, what are the characteristics of this perfect person that we are talking about, who is sthita prajna? Sthita prajna was, sthita means stable, prajna means wisdom, who is stable in the wisdom, right? So Krishu, can you spell sthita prajna from your book? It's in Shlok number.
Yes.
Okay.
STHITAPRAJNA, sthita prajna.
Okay, sthita prajna. You can look into your book too. It is in Shlok number 54, right? So sthita prajna. So sthita here means stability, and prajna means knowledge. So sthita prajna. So now we are looking for first thing, what are the characteristics of this person, and then second thing we are looking is, second question was what? Arjun asked 4 questions. The first one was, what are the characteristics of this person? Then what were the other 2 questions? A, B, C, and D. What were the other 2 questions?
How does this person talk?
Yeah, how does this person talk? Now what was the next one?
How do they walk?
How does the person move?
Move, yeah. Or you can say, how does this person, let me put move at the end because it's kind of walk, I will put, but sit, right? So how does this person talk? How does this person sit? And then how does this person move, right? So these were the 3 other questions. And now we got to know a little bit detail that how does this person talk means just not how they talk, right? There was a deeper meaning to it. Arjun is asking a deeper question here. It's not that oh, this is the perfect person, how do they talk? Are they talk like a tell me a great actor.
No.
Name again. What? Superhero. Like a Superman? Does
No.
does this guy talk like a Superman? Or does he walk like a Superman? Or does he sits like a Superman? Right? It's not about that. What is Arjuna asking is, how does he respond? How does he respond to the world? Like, now this guy is knowledgeable. Does he fly? Or does he, do anything other than how we do things, right? So that's what he was asking. How does he sit? Means how does he withdraw himself from all the senses? Like all these 5 senses how does he withdraw from there? And then how does he react to the situation, right? So that's what he was asking. When the things comes, like our things come, how does he do that, right? So then Krishna Bhagavan answers in slok number 55, which we did last time too. So what does he say? 55 was, what does he say? So in 55 he answered the first question. What are the characteristics of this person? So what does he say? He says 2 things. They come up with 2 characteristics. Anybody remembers? Guys, you guys have to have a notebook to write down all the things.
We didn't write
But ask Reha will give it to you,
I know.
right?
all the
But so that
previous
you can have, you can
knowledge.
note, you can write it down. So there were 2 things. One, they give up all the desires. So giving up the desires. What was the second characteristic?
They're satisfied in their self.
Satisfied with their self. With their self. Now what does the self says here? Is this me as a sonal satisfied in sonal?
No.
Is that what it is mean? What does it mean?
It means you're satisfied with the conscious.
With your real self. When we talk about real self, is the capital S, capital I. Okay, good. So, so the real self, what you are talking about, right? So they have to be satisfied. So they have to be satisfied with their real self. That was the second characteristic. So there are 2 characteristics that Krishna Bhagavan says. So when he asked this question, he mentioned 2 of them. One was giving up his desire. The second was satisfied with his self. Now we talk about giving up the desire, right? So what is giving up the desire? Is that, do we give up everything? Right? Do we give up everything that we have in this world? How will we live, right? If we give up everything. So what are the desires that we can keep and what are the desires we should give up?
Good desires we can keep.
What are the desires that you would like to keep?
Like spirituality, like desire for reaching God.
Yeah, that we can keep. What else we can keep?
Keep desire to help people.
Help people, yes. So, there are 3 kind of desires that you can keep. So I will just give you a little differentiation here. So what are the desires that we can keep? First desire that we can keep is, it has to be moral, right? It has to be a good desire. It cannot be immoral, unethical, or anything that to, hurt somebody or disturb somebody or to not be good for somebody, right? So it has to have a moral value to it, right? That's the only desire. So if we have a desire to earn money, but hey, I'm going to earn money by from somebody who has money and I will take his money and earn money a lot. Is that desire a good desire? Or is that desire a good desire when we say, hey, he has $1 million, I have to get 2 million to show him that I'm more rich?
No.
Is that a good desire? No. So desire has to be moral. I want to earn money to do what? To help others, right? When I can earn money to help others. So that is the desire that is moral desire, right? So the number one, the desire has to be moral, right? It cannot be without moral. Second is, it has to be moderate. Moderation means simple living, high thinking, right? You cannot have a desire of, oh my God, I have to have a palace, right? I have to have a big house. Even if I'm only 2 people living in this house, but I have to have like 6-bedroom house, right? That should not be a desire, right? So it has to be simple. I mean, bare minimum that you can make, right? For yourself, right? If you have a desire like, oh, I want to earn a lot of money to make sure that I can serve others, then for yourself you are not desiring. So your desire has to be very simple. It has to be with moderation. Okay. And then the third desire has to be connected with spirituality. Connected with. It's not just spirituality means you have to have a knowledge of Vedanta, or you know how consciousness work, or what is consciousness. It's not that. What it is, spirituality could be doing good deeds, right? Or doing good service to others. So you have to have it has to be connected to give others, not to give yourself for everything, right? So desire, you can give, the person can give up all the desires, but he should keep these desires that can help other people. So we are not asking about giving up every desire. So I don't want you guys to stand up and say, hey, as I give up all the desires, so let me close my notebook and I don't study anymore because I don't have a desire to study anymore. That's not what Gita says, right? So don't take it the other way, that we have to give up all the desire. Or you know what? I will give up eating food. I will not eat food because I should not have any desire. No, that's what not it's saying, right? I will tell you in detail how the desires work and how you can satisfy yourself. Now, when we talk about satisfying in ourselves, right? I made a statement last time saying that, you know what, there is 1,000 times of happiness inside us. But when we look for happiness, and that's what the biggest mistake anybody does, is they look for happiness outside, on an object, on a person. This person is mine, this object is mine, this position is mine. And when that thing comes, that's where we look for happiness, which is very temporary. It doesn't last long. So we need to look for happiness inside us by having satisfaction in self, right? Do you know that it has been scientifically proven that a person who is musician, they actually, when they close their eyes, they don't, even if they see the note of music note, they can hear the music, even nobody is playing music. It was a big example that composer, what was his name, who became deaf and still keep composing? Beethoven. Yeah. Beethoven. He was deaf, eventually, but he was such a good composer, even though he couldn't listen to the music. But what happened is, when he sees the note, he can listen that music inside him, right? Though he was deaf, but he could compose so beautiful music. He's one of the famous musicians. So what happens is, when you find joy in yourself, you don't need these all senses to make you happy or to make you understand that thing, right? So that's what we were talking about, right? So now this was the first 2 slokas that we started. We did 54 and 55. So he gave the answer to the first question that Arjun asked. Now there are other 3 questions that Arjun asked more, and we need to now get the answers for that. Let me see if we miss anything on that one. Okay, we are good to go to the next slok. Let's see. Okay, let's go to slok number 56 and we will start the new slok here. Reha, you want to? Okay, you ready? Huh? Yeah, but we will read it again. So we're going to go to slok number 56. Everybody has that open? 56. Okay, you can unmute when we sing the shlok. You don't have to mute it. So Reha will sing the first line, and then we will repeat the first line. All good? Okay. Go ahead, Reha.
Dukeshvanudvignamana
Dukeshu nudvigmana
Sukeshu vigataspraha
Sukeshu vigataspaha
Vitaraga bhaya krodha
Vitaraga bhaya krodha
Stitadir muniruchyate
Stitadir muniruchyate. We're gonna sing together. Dukeshvanudvignamana Sukeshu vigataspraha Vitaraga bhaya krodha Stitadir muniruchyate. Beautiful, beautiful slok. So what does he say? Now he's answering how does this Tita Pragna person gonna talk. So talk means how he respond to happiness and how he responds to de-stress and how he responds to the life, like regular life. So what does this slok says? This slok says that the person in midst of suffering or in pleasure, right? The person who in the midst of suffering he stayed undisturbed and unperturbed, or in midst of happiness or pleasure, he is not hankering on it, right? That person is stable in the knowledge. That person is Tita Prajna, right? So now, what does that mean? It's a lot of words and a lot of big words said in this slok. Now, if you read this slok, dukhe means sorrow, right? And then it says, anudignamano, mind got agitated, mind not agitated. So in the sorrow, when the mind doesn't get agitated, so when we have suffering, the mind doesn't get agitated. That person, sukheshu means in joy, in happiness, in pleasure, vigatasparha, without attachment, without being centered on it, right? Vitaraga bhaya krodha, free from desire, free from fear, and free from anger. That person can have steady wisdom, right? That's the whole translation of the, and that person is called a sage. So he introduced the word sage in here. So this is slok number 57, right? 56. 56. So who is a sage? The person, two situations, sorrow and pleasure. How does he react? We're going to talk about it, right? So the first thing, he react in sorrow. Now, initially when I was talking to you guys, what did I say? All religion, what are they promising us? If you follow a religion or if you follow a spirituality, what are they promising? One thing they are promising us. To do what? To give what?
Give
Knowledge, and what else? Ultimate goal is?
Freedom.
Satisfaction. Freedom. Yeah, satisfaction and freedom. And that's what we look for religion, right? Why do we look outside other things to spirituality? That we are saying that suffering is there, right? How can we overcome this suffering? So how can we get satisfaction in this life or freedom with all these suffering, right? So when sorrow is there, means suffering is there, right? But before I go into detail of these two things, how mature the question was what Arjun asked, right? After enlightened, after when you are sthita prajna, do you think? Oh, it was not.
I don't know.
Okay. So, do you think that all sorrow should have gone if the person get enlightened? The sorrow should have gone, right?
Yes.
But what is he saying? That there will be sorrow coming in life. There will be pleasure will keep coming. That's not going to change. That's going to come. But what's going to change is how we respond to it. That's what spirituality gives you. The sorrow, nobody can change sorrow and happiness. Why do we get sorrow and pleasure? Everybody's life has it. Nobody in the world, nobody, not a single person in the world is away from sorrow and pleasure, right? Somebody has sorrow of not getting that pretty dress that other person has. Somebody has sorrow of not getting a toy that other person has. Somebody has sorrow of not having too many friends. Somebody has sorrow of not getting a good job. Somebody has sorrow of not getting good grades. Somebody will have sorrow of not, making good money. Somebody has sorrow of, oh, I'm actually away from my family. Somebody will have a sorrow for, brother, sister fighting, right? So there is nobody in this world will not have this word in, there will be nobody that their dictionary doesn't have sorrow, right? Every single person in the world, even Bill Gates has sorrow in his life. Musculan has sorrow in his life. So everybody A to Z will have sorrow in this life, right? On the other thing, did I say it wrong?
It's Elon Musk, not Musk Elon.
Okay. Just flip it, guys, okay? And does anybody has pleasure in their life? Yes. Yes, everybody will have pleasure in this life. I got this pretty dress today. I bought it. I'm going to wear this. I will have a pleasure, right? I'm going to eat this good cookie. I will have a pleasure. I'm going to go to this place that I was thinking about it for a long time to vacation. There will be a pleasure. So, even the enlightened person will get sorrow and pleasure in their life. It's not taken away. And why does this come? You remember why does our life goes how? Because there are certain things that we did it. What were they? Anybody tell me why we get sorrow and pleasure?
Kind of our karma.
Yeah, past karma, right? We did past karma. That's going to keep bringing us sorrow and pleasure and happiness, keep rotating us, right? That's why we have to focus on our karma, right? Because our present karma will give us sorrow and pleasure, in future. So now, when the sorrow and pleasure are there, right? So even if you get enlightened, does your past karma died off? It's still there, right? Because that one arrow is already been shot. So you will come across sorrow and pleasure depending on your past karma. So it's already there. You cannot change it, right? You can blend it down. Sorrow can be blended down by doing spirituality, right? It can blunt the effect of your past karma, but it's not going to take it away because you did some karma that's going to give you that, right? But it's going to take it away, right? So what happened in Buddha, in one of the thing it says, there are, for suffering, any sorrow, there are always two arrows shot to use. Arrow number 1 and arrow number 2. Arrow number 1 is the suffering, the real suffering that I told you, just couple example that I gave you. So when happens, I couldn't buy that pretty dress, right? I'm so sad. I couldn't buy that pretty dress. That's the first sorrow that hits you, right? That's the first arrow that hits you. The second arrow is the response that you see. What response you say? Oh, I'm so sad. what will my friends say? I don't have good dress. I cannot go there. I cannot even go to my friend's house. She has a party. Everybody will wear good dress. I will not. That's the second arrow. The response to our first suffering, right? Now, it could be, the example could be that let's take a bigger suffering, right? The bigger suffering is I'm in a lot of pain, right? I fall down, I got hurt, I'm in a lot of pain, right? So that's the first arrow. But then what happened is the second arrow is more about, oh, you know what? If I start walking, it will hurt me more. That anticipation of getting hurt is the arrow number 2, right? Now, because our karma are set from last, our first arrow is hard to take out, right? It's gonna come, right? As I mentioned, it's gonna come. But the response, this is where we can make changes. And you know what? You will be surprised that the second arrow hurts more than the first arrow. And this is scientifically proven. There is a research done that, you know, in chronic pain, 20% is actual pain. The physical pain, any chronic pain. 20% is the real pain. %60 is mental pain. That we're gonna be responding to this pain. And then other 20% is the social pain. So that's how it works. So what happens is the first arrow is only 20%, right? Other 80% is the second arrow. Now spirituality has the answer to this, the second arrow, right? Which is 80% of our suffering comes from the second arrow. Only 20% comes from the real suffering, right? Now, how should we respond, right? Now this person, how will he respond and how we respond? Without enlightenment, without spirituality, how will we respond and how will we, Sthita Prajna will respond. Sthita Prajna will respond with undisturbed mind, right? With the stability of knowledge that he has in the mind or the bhakti that he has for the God, he will respond with undisturbed mind. What does that mean? So when I will respond to suffering, I will respond with jealousy, depression, anger, right? As soon as something bad happens, what's going to happen the first thing to me? Anything bad happened to me, right? I will be so upset. Right? Why me? Right? Why I was chosen for this? Why the other people are so happy and I'm not happy? Jealousy, right? Why is me the worst person in the world? Why didn't I get this thing where other people got it, right? That's how a normal person responds, because they don't have an answer. They will say, I'm suffering, and he's making this second arrow hurt more and more. Now, how will Sthita Prajna respond? Sthita Prajna will respond as saying that, you know, I got it because probably something happened in the past karma, right? But when I got this, right, I need to handle it with a different aspect. Not be angry, not be jealous, not be depressed, with the purified mind. We need a little bit purified mind for that. Now, it's not easy. Like in theoretical way, it's very looks easy, right? Theoretically way you will say, and you say, oh, okay, I read this, I should be behaving like this, I should be behaving like that. But when pain comes, they don't come theoretical, they come real, right? They come real, and they are there for us to handle it. How would I do it? Should I just keep a fake smile on my thing when suffering comes and then have the suffering inside me? Is that what we are talking about?
No.
Can we should do that? Can we just keep it inside and just let not people know and then close our door and cry all night? Is that what spirituality is telling us to do it? No, right? Now, what is spirituality telling us to do? How can we get this purified mind that we are talking about when suffering comes, right? So, the way that spirituality tells you is in twofold, and I'm going to tell you first fold and second fold. The first fold is the basic spirituality. Second fold is the little bit higher. So, if you don't understand, don't beat yourself, because this is not the last class that we are having. So, the first step is, if you have the knowledge that this thing, when you have, let me give you a little bit examples, and then we will actually do it. So we come across anger as soon as we respond to suffering, right? So we need to control that anger. That's the first response that we get for the suffering. Now, how can we get anger controlled, right? So the first thing we have to see is, when we express the anger, right, the thought that should come, what the knowledge says, that we are not this body, not this mind. What are we? We are the consciousness, right? So when we understand that we are just the page of the book, then we can act with the purified mind. But if we think that we are the book, then we cannot act. What does that mean? If Sonal is the book, this is the book, then every page matters, that sorrow comes and pleasure comes and it all impacts me. But when I'm not the book, I'm just the page of the book. There are many lives I got before, there are many lives going to come after. If I'm just the page of the book, then I don't take these things very seriously and don't think that this is the last thing going to happen with me. Because what's going to happen? I will die, I will get another body, the whole life will circle around again, and these sorrows and pleasure will keep coming. Why would it impact me? Right? Why should I get angry to nullify the sorrow? Right? Now what happens is, I was thinking one thing to tell you about this. Okay, yeah. Because when you get angry, what happens is, anger actually burn the house first, then they burn other things, right? So anger will burn you first, and then it goes to the other person. So whenever you get angry in the response of sorrow, it's going to burn you first, right? First thing. The second thing is, if this is not the last sorrow, why would I put all my energy and all my anger and frustrate myself to overcome this sorrow, right? This is the basic spirituality. Now let's take it advanced. Advanced is when we have this knowledge that everything is one consciousness and one Brahman, right? As we study in What Are We? And that's one consciousness and one Brahman. So whom to blame when blamer and blame and praiser and praise are one and one consciousness? You got my part? So whom would you blame for sorrow? When the blame, the sorrow, and the blamer, the sorrower, they both are one and the same, because that's one consciousness, right? So why would I be worried about these sorrows? So keep it calm, because this is not the last time it's coming, right? You know, when they give a definition of pessimist and optimist and realistic, what happened? The pessimist is the person who doesn't see the light down the deep tunnel, right? It's like it's the dark tunnel all the way, right? Optimist is the person who sees the light at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel. And who is the realistic? Who sees the light at the end of the dark tunnel and then see another tunnel with the darkness, and then see light after the another tunnel, right? So that's how the realistic work, because this is going to keep coming. We cannot take anything about this. This arrow, the first arrow, is going to keep coming. What we have to do is we have to change our response, right? Now in this, he mentioned another 4 letters that I said. Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. Vita means get free from it. Vita, Raga. Raga means all these desires, right? Krodha, Bhaya. Bhaya and Krodha. Bhaya means fear and Krodha means anger. Now, I don't have much place to write, so I'm going to go down there, right? So now he says about this thing, the person, the sage is removed, like he has free from what? Free from 3 things, which he mentioned before, to desire, fear, and anger. Desire, we talk a lot, right? We talked before too, and we explained desire a lot. When we have desire, the results of desire, the result of desire is fear. Where does fear come from? Fear comes from the desire that is, when we have a desire, we have a fear of whether it's going to be fulfilled or not. So fear is the result of desire. All 3 words are connected to each other. So when the desire is there, fear will always be there, right? I have a desire to get the best grades in my school. Then the results will be like, I have a fear whether I'm going to get it or not. So there will be a fear. So when there is a desire, there will always be a fear, whether it's going to be for completion and non-completion, right? And when there is a fear, there is always an anger comes. Then what if my desire will not be fulfilled? Then it responds to anger. So all 3 things come one after another. What spirituality does, it actually, we withdraw the desire, so we become fearless, and then fearless will take our anger away, right? It's very important. I think I explained to you before too how enlightened person is fearless too. No fear. It's freedom, right? What is enlightenment? It's freedom. And we have no fear, because now what we are seeing is, after getting bhakti, after getting knowledge, if we devote everything to God, if we pray God and we think everything happens by this natural power that is there, then what happens? Then there is nothing in our control, right? So what to fear? There is nothing in our control, right? The result, we only do the karma, we only do the work. Who gives the results? Results are in our hand? No, right? So why to fear? There is no fear if there is no results in our hand, right? Now, King Janak, when he got enlightened, his guru did not say, oh, you attend enlightened King Janak. What did he say? Oh, you attend fearlessness, King Janak. That's what he announced, that when he got enlightened. So always enlightened person is fearless. They don't have fear of death, right? The biggest fear that we have, what? First fear, the worldly fear, is that we might not fulfill our desire, then what's going to happen? That's one fear, right? Or I would not become such a nice person. That fear we have, right? If I don't grow up if I will not earn that much money, what's going to happen? That's the fear that we have. But outside this fear, there is the biggest fear of death. Nobody in this world wants to die. Nobody. Like, even if you ask a 100-year-old person that, are you ready to die? And he will, internally, if you ask him, he is not ready. Nobody wants to leave this world. So death is a bigger fear. But after getting the knowledge, after getting the bhakti, do you fear of death? The person who always stay in this knowledge, would they fear of death? The death is changing your clothes. It's similar. What Gita says, it's similar as changing the clothes, right? You change your clothes from torn one to the nicer one. The same way the death comes and you get the next body, right? So the fearlessness comes. And then when the fearlessness is there, there is no anger. Whom are you going to be angry at, right? Whom are you going to be angry at? So that's how the response of the response of Sthita Prajna changes. They don't have any anger. They act like fearlessness, and they don't have desire, right? So their response to all the suffering changes. You got it? So a regular person will respond with anger, jealousy. This Sthita Prajna person with sorrow will never respond with jealousy, never responds with anger, right? He will take this sorrow and he will just hang on to it, and he said, this is how it's going to happen, right? It will come, it will go. Nothing is permanent here. Sorrow will come, go. Pleasure is also not permanent. You will get happiness, but it will go away too. Remember that. Nothing is stable, right? So they both will come and go. Why would it impact me? There is nothing to impact me. That's how a sage thinks. That's how a Sthita Prajna guy thinks. And that's how he responds to the world, right? When you get to respond to the world next time, when you are very upset, when you are very sad, right? Think about this thing. And think about this thing and say, hey, what did we read in Gita, that how does this person respond to the sorrow, we get suffering, how does that respond? My mom got really upset at me, right? And then the sorrow came. How did I respond? That's the second arrow, right? How would you respond? Watch out. What do you respond? If you respond with anger, if you respond with fear, and you are having a desire, and that's what the discussion is, then what would you do? Right? What would you do? Anybody here? What changes would you bring in your response? Come on, guys. Any changes that you're gonna bring? If your mom is really upset at you, what changes would you bring?
Like, you would get mad. Like, if she told you to stop watching TV, I'd be like, no.
That's how you respond, right? Yeah. So what you have to do going forward is, because you guys are having more knowledge now with like, hey, I'm not the self, right? We understand all these things. So then the anger goes away. You would not respond with this angry, right? So that's how it says that it's going to end in 5 minutes. Is it gonna? Okay. So
5:50.
why did
50 minutes.
50 minutes only?
Oh, it's 55. Is it?
It locked me off.
I know, Raja. I'm sorry. I did not know it. The Google Meet is saying we only have 5 more minutes. So okay,
Just
let me
take it.
finish it, and then we will figure it out next time how to
50
make it
minutes
1
have
hour.
been passed.
Huh?
50 minutes passed
Okay.
for the class.
Oh, we actually started the meeting before the class.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. So you guys understand the part of this. So let me see, what was it? Anything else that I missed on this slok? Then we will take the next slok next time. We will just read it. Okay. So you know what? Just last thing I will say that Swami Vivekananda said that a fool cannot get angry, but a wise does not get angry. What's the difference? A fool cannot get angry. They might not have a brain to get angry, right? But the wise person has a control that he does not get angry. So that's the difference, right? He is talking about this Sthita Prajna. He has capability of getting angry, but he doesn't. So wise person never gets angry. Fool cannot get angry. Leave aside that thing because he doesn't have capability of getting angry. But the Sthita Prajna person have capability of getting angry, but they don't, right? So the biggest picture that you have to see here is what characteristics do we need to get to this stage, right? That's why we are reading about these characteristics. What do we need? First of all, we need to watch out what desires we are doing, right? So we have to think about what desires we are taking. Second part is that how are we responding to sorrow and happiness? Now I will say happiness we did not take much today, but I want to talk about happiness too, but we will do it next time. The bigger picture is we don't hang on to the happiness. Like, oh, happiness don't, we actually get sad that, oh my God, this happiness will go away, then what's going to happen? We actually sad on that part. If the happiness is there, but if it goes away, what's going to happen to me? Right? So that's what we're going to talk about in next class. So let's do shlok number 57. Just read one time and then we will end the class. And then we will start again next Sunday. Okay, Reha, you can go ahead. So you guys have slok 57, sorry. Chapter 2, slok 57.
या सर्वत्राणभिष्णेः
Ya sarvatrana
तदात् प्राप्य शुभाशुभम्
tata prapya shubha shubham
न विनन्दति न द्वेष्टि
na vinandati na dveshti
तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
tasya prajna pratishtita. Together. Ya sarvatrana vishnehas tatat prapya shubha shubham na vinandati na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. Okay guys, thank you for coming in. Let's close it and then we will meet again next week. Vasudeva sutam devam Kamsacharunamardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Thank you guys for joining.